So equanimity is a state of being which at its highest is bliss, transcendent joy, bliss. Equanimity is not apathy. That's often called a near enemy of apathy in the Buddhist tradition. What equanimity could be described as is a heightened state of reality, or experience reality in a higher way, whereby there's no judgment of experience. It's developing the ability to not react to things going on within your experience, and the result from that can be extremely joyful and very beneficial, and a lot of healing can happen, because in order to get to a state of equanimity, healing will have occurred by that stage. So things perhaps in the subconscious which haven't maybe been processed can and will be processed as a result of getting to the stage of experiencing equanimity. Another way of describing equanimity is described by some as choiceless awareness. It's a state of being able to, in a way, mindfully watch your experience without getting tangled up in it. And this practice is a way that we can get towards that. So this is from a Japanese, or from the Zen Buddhist tradition, and from the practice of, which is called just sitting, or shikantaza. Now, what this practice involves doing is sitting and becoming aware of your experience. So instrumental to this and key to this experience is becoming aware that, in terms of, if you like, a metaphysical physiognomy of us humans, what we have are thought, feeling, we have emotions when they become intertwined or conglomerate, and we have being. And being and awareness are largely synonymous. Now, for a working model, this can be really beneficial to us. And this is why I think it's at least worth considering that these techniques are certainly applicable, because there's definite method to the techniques. And for that reason, we might well be able to include them in coaching practice, well-being coaching, helping people with their well-being. Very often, people are getting caught up in thought. And it's very often a certain relationship with thought which creates suffering in people, from extreme suffering to levels of suffering. But it's our relationship with those thoughts and feelings very often that creates our own suffering. So this practice will show a person that what we actually have is awareness, and that is beyond the body. It is beyond the body. If you do this for a little while, you will have the experience that you are not your body. There is a level of being which just simply, knowingly, is more alive than anything to do with your body alone. That's the working model. And that's the experience that you'll most likely have from it. And this exercise enables us to experience that being, and through that we can see then that we are, if you like, another way of describing it would be, there is a mental body, and that is a certain range of energies, and there is a feelings body, or sometimes called an emotional body. But I'm careful with the term emotional, because emotion really is often is a mix of the two in a sense, because it does bring in an aspect of acting, of volition, generally is related to thought as well. So primacy, feeling has primacy. In order to create an emotion, feeling would have been there first. So I generally would say a feelings body and a mental body. And these sit within our own awareness. If you've ever done any exercises such as yoga nidra, then you will have that unbelievably powerful experience of radiant being. Being. It is a joyful, blissful experience. This exercise can help us experience that. So the exercise entails sitting, just sitting in a comfy way, maybe cross-legged, maybe on a chair, no props, whatever, just quite comfy, relatively upright back. And what you do is you put an object, a positive object, like a candle, for example, about 3 or 4 feet in front of you, and let your eyes rest on that candle. It could be lit, it doesn't have to be lit. You don't want it to distract you, but at the same time, you want it to be something that I think has a positive meaning. It doesn't work too well with money, like a coin, for example. It doesn't seem to work for some reason. But a tea candle seems to work really well. An unlit tea candle, perfectly good enough. And you put that down, you let your eyes settle on it. And as your eyes settle on it, then you will notice just in that settling effect that other things start to quieten down. And the exercise entails allowing your awareness, your attention, also interchangeable term to some extent, allowing your awareness to rest in the present moment as constantly as possible. Now that's a skill in itself. And in doing that, in becoming aware of awareness, if you like, you or your client will realize that there's a whole level of being which is intrinsically joyful. So in science, we might call this, perhaps link this to the unified field. We might link it to spirit. In other terms, might link it to consciousness or just being. But it is a quantifiable experience. It is an experience which we very much can have. So you allow your awareness to rest in the present moment as constantly as possible. Now, what you will most likely notice are then thoughts and feelings and their interrelationship. So what you do is you suspend the automatic almost, or the habitual tendency of suppressing stuff that's going on within you, because that's what happens a lot of the time to people, all of us. And the way you do that, the way you offset that, is as you sit there, you cultivate a sense of openness, and you open to everything in your experience as it arises. And doing this, it takes a little while, and you need to give yourself some quiet space and some quiet. But that gentle practice of opening to experience will access your unconscious or subconscious mind. And it's that opening where you also then stop suppressing. And it is life-changing because it enables us to get into what we could call a pre-perceptual stage of being. Very often in the conscious mind, we aren't in that. We're in the realm of name and form, if you like, where the perceptual labeling process is going on to all experience. That's why it says don't judge in a lot of spiritual work, because we're doing it automatically very often. But there are techniques to counteract that so that we can access our or subconscious minds. So we simply become aware of opening to experience rather than, and we'll notice then how we most likely were just suppressing slightly or going towards, either pushing away from things or going towards things on subtle levels. So open to all experience, allow all experience, take the attitude that you're ready to welcome all experience with an equally open, detached mindfulness. Let it change and pass on unobstructedly. Allow all thoughts, feelings, and emotions to come and go as freely as they like, including the ones you dread, find painful, or tedious. And that part of it is deeply transformative. You will notice just how much the suppression process is going on once you start opening up to the experiences that you dread, find painful, or tedious, and it will be joyful. What you will find is that all that's happened is a habit of pushing stuff away or pushing towards stuff, but not being in the moment, not being in the now, not being here now. And what you will find is that nothing that you were pushing away was damaging to you in any way. That's the great revelation. That's the life-changing part. Nothing that you habitually were spending time pushing away was of any consequence whatsoever. It's simply the inner orientation that it is a threat, which is subconsciously what's going on, that created a sense of disturbance. And it's on that sense of disturbance that pretty much all addictive behavior lies. Mindfulness shows us, and this is a particularly strong way of doing that, by allowing all thoughts, feelings, and emotions to come and go as freely as they like, including the ones you dread, find painful, or tedious, can bring you straight away into a transcendental state, into a trance state, theta wave state, where joy is the defining characteristic. Now, if you've got a client, or if someone has got addictions in their life already, for example, if they're smoking as a result of this tendency to suppress, and they're not in the present moment, that can be a state of absolute abstraction from your real self, the real joy of being. And this exercise counteracts that. Allow all thoughts, feelings, and emotions to come and go as freely as they like, including the ones you dread, find painful, or tedious. Now, as you do that, and you repeat that like a mantra, you go deeper into your subconscious, and you stop the mechanism of protecting what we would ultimately then call a false self. It's the egoic identity, which we mentioned earlier. And the only thing keeping that egoic identity alive, really, is your defense mechanisms. And defense mechanisms, we might think, oh, they're good, surely, aren't they? Yeah, in some senses, but it's most likely necessary to develop ways of going beyond those, because most people in life we're all going to have trauma at some point. So other examples of being in a trance state are maybe watching some form of media, YouTube, Netflix, whatever, people also try and experience this through intoxication, but it's not a successful way because it just creates bodily addiction. So it doesn't work, it just creates turbulence. This is an amazingly powerful way to overcome addictive behaviors, because the great, amazing thing is that if somebody has got into a state of fluctuations of turbulence in their inner life, then it's highly likely there's going to be a degree of suppression going on. There may be addictive behaviors as well. Either way, just practicing this will enable a person to go beyond that and experience a truly powerful force of healing. And it's very simple. It may not have been evident through what I've just said, the power of that exercise. But the power is in, one, allowing awareness to rest in the present moment. If you can, do an exercise called the body scan or yoga nidra to complement this, because it works very much in the same way. But what you will discover from this is that there is a level of your being, that is your being. Within that rest thought, within that rest feeling, conglomerates of those are known as emotions. And these can cause, they're always there. That's a wonderful thing, but until we find successful ways of working with these, it can cause a lot of turbulence. But as I say, what we're discovering from this is that awareness is just there. We simply have to become aware of awareness. It's not thought and it's not feeling. And knowing that you are not your thoughts is life-changing, because you access a level of your being, which is the ultimate joy. So we'll just finish this one here and then just carry on this discussion on the next one. To keep these videos as small as possible.